All right, guys, welcome back. Another episode, College Coaches Corner, LGR here. We stopped in New Orleans, Louisiana, NAIA with Coach Rome from Dillard. Coach, biggest thing I wanted to kind of talk to you, kind of lead the way yourself into, if you don't mind talking about your program yourself as well. I noticed in your bio that you came back to your alma mater. How is it coaching at your alma mater? And you also were very influential in building the program back after Hurricane Katrina. You mind talking about that?
Oh, yeah. One of the biggest things that I enjoy is always getting the opportunity to talk about Dillard University. Having the opportunity to be able to be at Dillard University as a student was just awesome. It helped to change the trajectory of my life, helped to put me in, different spaces that I probably would have never been able to have the opportunity to do. And then getting the opportunity to be able to come back and coach here is just, it was a dream come true. And so it's really been a pleasure being able to coach here and teach and help not just the women's basketball program, but just within our community, our Dillard community, to help spread the love and, the knowledge that I've been given. Sometimes I often tell my players they can kind of look at me as like a spiritual GPS. I'm trying to help them, navigate through life and miss those potholes that I ran into while I was during that age when I was in college.
For sure. I guess that's got to be really easy to relate, especially whenever you literally walked in their shoes at the same school, same classes and all. That's got to be easy to relate with them.
Mm-hmm.
With NAIA, why do you think athletes should consider NAIA? What's some benefits that kind of land to your level and at your school?
I think one of the things that athletes can get from coming to Dillard University is having the opportunity to be able to be in a very small community, a very close-knit environment, an environment where the ratio is 12-1, and so they get an opportunity to be able to know one another, to know their professors, and I think that can benefit them tremendously, because it allows them to not to get lost in the shuffle, not to be another number. And so we like to call Dillard University the jewel of Gentilly. And so we're nestled right there in New Orleans, great area, great environment. And, the back of the school, the canal is in the back of the school, the 17th Street Canal. And then we have like gates going around the front. So we have one way in, one way out. So we're nestled right there, and it's a great, safe community.
That's big time. Definitely got some tradition for sure. As far as prospect, high school athlete, how can they get on your radar? With the 2021 class, we don't know, with May and April getting shut down, the summer's probably shut down. And we got a lot of kids, 2021, 2022s, that are panicking. How can they get on your radar? They reach out to you. What's the easiest way to kind of get on Dillard's radar?
I think the easiest way to get on Dillard's radar is to reach out to me via email, reach out to me via social media, Twitter, to contact me via email. My email is available. It's nrome@dillard.edu, and my Twitter handle is @npr01. And so that's the best way to get in contact with me. But I don't think the kids should panic as far as, your 21s or 22s. I think a lot of the coaches were doing a lot of talking and was trying to get a feel for the kids. And I guess doing things like this will help the kids understand that this is really unprecedented for everyone. So we're all just trying to figure it out. And I think there's going to be events and, be places where, kids will be seen. It's just not the normal things that we've normally, done. And so, but I think people will be prepared and they'll put people in position to be able to be seen. And, we'll have an opportunity to be able to recruit. And a lot of people are coming up with different creative ways to being able to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun time everyone's kind of banding together and coming up with different ideas. I feel like we got so much time on our hands. Everyone's got all kinds of different ideas going on. But I think a lot's going to stick, like you said, and I think we'll get back to some events eventually. We talked about social media, right? So had Northwest Florida State, their assistant coach on, and he talked about an idea or an example of where they actually stopped recruiting a kid because of what she did on social media. Character goes a long ways. I think we always think about basketball, and can she put the ball in the hoop? Yeah, that goes a long ways. But can you talk about like character, whether it's you guys doing your homework, calling people, or you guys doing your homework on social media? Just kind of ad-lib a little on that.
I think one of the things that we do within the program, because we have a two-person operation, because it's Coach Loretta Martin and myself. What we try to do is we try to first find kids who are really good from a character standpoint. So we're searching for kids who can make an impact, not just on the court, but more so in their community. Kids who are doing things the right way. Because I think if you're a really good person, then you can definitely be a really good basketball player. So it's important for us to look for kids who, doing things that are really responsible, showing high levels of integrity, sportsmanship, just different things like that, that I think that you can see those traits in a person throughout their whole life, where people can speak to those character traits. And I think when you see that, if you can find players who have that solid foundation, and then they're doing well academically, and then they're doing well socially, and then doing well on the court, I think is a higher probability for those kids to be successful, to help create the environment that you want within your culture for your program to continue to be successful year in and year out.
Heck yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that, man. And I think we always get caught up in the fit, quote unquote, from the student athlete's perspective to make sure they find the right fit for the college. But a lot of times we get overlooked, and we don't value that. On the flip side of that, college coaches like yourself are looking for that fit. Like, you're recruiting hundreds of kids, and at the end of the day, they're all going to be somewhere similar. Sally's going to be able to put the ball in the hole just as much as Samantha's going to be able to put the ball in the hole. But who has the better character may go a little bit longer and a little bit further, like you said, for the right fit for you and your program. So that's a great point. I love that.
I think for me, especially, one of the things that we do, with me running a Princeton offense, and I've been running that for a while, we tend to lean a lot more towards people with the higher basketball intelligence and shooters, and to make sure that they understand what we do. Because like when you're running Princeton, it's a lot of read and reaction. And so it's really hard to scout us, because it's so many different actions that you can do just based off passing and cutting and reading. So you have to be able to understand where you are on the floor in relationship to where the other 4 people are on the floor offensively, and where the other 5 people are on the floor defensively.
For sure. And that's another great point that you kind of bring up that I guess I'm looking into from what you're saying. Basically, as a prospective student athlete, you need to do your homework as well on, we talked a little bit in a previous episode with some other coaches about doing your homework on the roster, right? So we talked with Mississippi Junior College, where they only get 3 out of state. So if you have someone who already has 3 kids out of state and they're all freshmen, you don't even have an opportunity really. Now we're talking about, doing your homework for the colleges, as far as will you fit their system, the roster, will it be enjoyable to you? Do you like to play fast? Is this a good spot for you? Do you like to shoot the 3 ball? Is this a good spot for you? That's a very good point. I like that. We talked a little bit off the record before we jumped on about scholarships, and you had talked about how NAIA D1 and D2 are combining. Do you mind talking a little bit about that, trying to educate us on that?
Yes, so legislation was passed this year within the NAIA. Well, we actually had two divisions. So there was a Division One and there was a Division Two. So we merged. Once we merged, the NAIA Division One was allotted a total of 11 scholarships, and Division Two was allotted 6 scholarships. So when we merged this year, and this legislation had been talked about, about say maybe like the past 3 years. So we knew it was coming, but when we finally got to this year and we merged, we came to a middle ground, and then everybody decided that the number that we were going to go with was 8. So so now every program is allowed to carry 8 scholarships based on the cost of attendance at that at that university. So typically it varies from university to university what that scholarship entails and what it covers. So much like NCAA, when they say that they are offering you a scholarship, oftentimes that's tuition, room, board, fees, books, and then a lot of times you get a stipend and get your federal aid back. But the NAIA is comprised of a lot of small universities, and each school kind of sets the rules or the parameters, so to speak, for the way the institution governs the way the scholarship, what the scholarship provides.
So, of course, you're not going to carry 8 kids on the roster. So a lot of different things go into it. We had talked with some Division III schools where they don't offer any athletic scholarships, and they were emphasizing, FAFSA, completing that, academic scholarships, TOPS, all those things. Is that something that you guys do to kind of help build your roster, or how does that work?
Well, one of the biggest things I try to tell parents is I'm trying to get your daughter to a zero balance.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily trying to put money in your daughter's pocket, but we're trying to get her to the zero balance as much as possible, because we want these kids to come out with a degree, but we want them to come out without having as much debt. So we feel if they can go into the world, and we focus on the 4 C's, which is one of the 4 C's is career. If they can go out and they get a career and find something to do that they're passionate about, and they don't have that debt hanging over their head, then that's a lot of less stress that they have to worry about when they're trying to find their niche in life.
Sure, man. And that kind of leads me to the next question, with parents. Hadn't talked much about parents on any of our previous episodes. What kind of role can the parents play as far as getting their kid recruited, helping and or hurting the kid's recruitment? Where can they benefit and also be a negative? What's some advice?
Wow, that's a great question. I think sometimes the parents can really help, but I also think sometimes the parents can hurt. I see a lot of times the parents hurting kids when they try to live vicariously through their kids. When they wanted to have the opportunity to play college sports, and maybe they didn't get the opportunity to play college sports, they want their kids to go far and beyond maybe what they were able to achieve. So they try to live through their kids. And by doing that, oftentimes they miss opportunities that were probably better suited for them, and take other opportunities that's probably not as suited for them. And you talked about this earlier about being the right fit. So I remember when I was coaching AAU, we had a kid, we had several kids that decided to go Power 5. And one of the kids went Power 5, and she had the opportunity to play at a university, and she didn't get a chance to play until her late junior year, early senior year. And then we had another kid that went to a very good university, and she went to a high-level mid-major school, and she was able to play from her freshman year to her senior year. And what I think these kids don't necessarily understand is, and I'm sure you understand what I'm about to say, when you put the type of sweat and hard work in since you've been in the 3rd, 4th grade, and you work all the way up till you get to your 12th grade, and then you get an opportunity to play in college, I can't see me saying that I love a game, and then I go and take the opportunity to be at a school. Let's say I'm at a school to just sit on the bench. Like, you work too hard to get to that chance, to get that chance that, and then you go and sit the bench just to say you at, XYZ school, and I think you do have these kids where they do realize what's a good fit for them. And to me, oftentimes, I think it's better to be the big fish in a smaller pond than to be a small fish in a big pond. Like, some kids sometimes shoot too high, and they don't enjoy their experience. And you see that because when you look at the portal for NCAA, not that I have access to it, but I know friends who tell me about it. When you have about 900 kids that are in the portal, then someone is doing a poor job of recruiting, and they're doing a poor job of identifying talent.
No doubt. No doubt. Now, I guess it kind of where I want to move to the next question, man. Educating the kids, whether it's seniors or juniors, what time frame do you, as Dillard University, when do you start recruiting a kid? When do you feel like, because it just could, based off of the level, kids are like, oh, well, I'm just going to wait on Division I to come. I'm waiting on D1 or bust mindset. How do you work around that? When do you, at what point you personally get tired of it and move on? What's the advice you can give to a PSA that's a junior or a senior that's going through the recruiting process with that?
Well, I'm just giving advice out. So for me, I think if I had a kid who had the opportunity to start playing high school basketball, which that is, not a right, but that's a privilege. So if you're playing high school basketball, you want to start marketing yourself in the 9th grade. So you do that by creating clips of yourself playing in high school. And now with all the technology that we have available through maybe a platform like Huddle, you can start putting things out and sending information out and filling out prospect questionnaires for different schools on different levels. And so what'll happen is, once you get your name out there and you start choosing different schools that are available for you, schools that you think that you like, if you start getting some responses back, then you kind of want to start building a relationship with those schools. As your talent level begins to grow, as you begin to get better as a player, then you may be able to open up your spectrum and then maybe look at different colleges. But you want to have a lot of different availability, different options to be able to choose from. So you don't want to just focus on NCAA, and you don't want to just focus on NAIA. You want to focus on what's a good fit for you and who likes you. And my biggest thing is, I say, like who likes you.
I like that. Like who likes you. I like that, man. So you mentioned earlier about how you coached AAU. I always thought that was cool. Some of these NAIA coaches that coach AAU and still coach NAIA. I'm not sure everyone's familiar with the rules. So like D1s, when they're out, they can't talk to you. You guys, of course, can do that. You can talk to people at events. You can go to any of the events throughout the whole year. You can coach the team. You mind ad-libbing about that a little bit on the rules and how that helps you guys?
Oh, I think it's an advantage for us because the NAIA does not govern us in the sense where, we have dates where, we can't call prospects, or where when we are at certified events, we can't talk to parents or other prospects. The CW has their own set of rules and guidelines, and the NAIA has their own set of rules and guidelines. And so they allow us to have a lot of freedom where, we can reach out to parents and we can reach the kids and try and build relationships with those parents and with those throughout the whole year. So I think we're blessed to have that. I'm glad it's like that. And it does slightly give us an advantage over other schools, when we're recruiting.
For sure. So if you're ever out and you see Coach Rome on the sidelines, just you feel free to tell him hello, because you can't do that to the ones.
Right.
Coach, when did you? When was your first year head coach at Dillard?
2013.
Was it 20 what? You broke up.
2013.
13? All right. I jumped over one of my questions. It's my toughest question I like to ask people when they come on. Let's backtrack to 2013. Who was the first coach you felt like outcoached you in the game?
Wow. I felt like my first year, every time I stepped on the side, we only won 3 games, so I felt like I got outcoached pretty much the whole year.
Man,
that was a true learning experience for me. But I always tell people that failure makes a success out of you. So having had the opportunity to go through that experience and having done that and knowing what it takes in order to become a champion, you know, it made me better. It made me a hungrier coach, and it's humbling. You know, I think we all go through that within our profession. You know what I mean? Like everybody has to go through that spell where you're trying to get over the hump, and nobody is excluded from that.
for sure, man. For sure. You've done a great job building that program back up. I know it was tough, man, with after Katrina and everything. I saw it firsthand with what Keyshawn's doing over at UNO, and I'm sure it was just as hard for you. And you know, I know it means a lot to you and her both being back at y'all's alma mater. And we're rooting for you guys, man. You mentioned your social media. You want to mention that again? So if anyone wants to kind of get in contact with you, or if you want to plug Dillard anymore.
If you want to get in contact with me on Twitter, it's at NPROME01. And if you want to email me, it's NROME@dillard.edu.
Awesome, man. Again, man, thanks for coming on, spending some time with us. Give back, man. Enjoy some of that time with that family during this virus madness. Thanks for everyone that came on to watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our new YouTube channel. We'll be coming on with more of these coaches interviews. Thank y'all.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks.